Dear students, as you have learned the procedure of testing the normality using the Shapiro-Wilk test by taking various data sets, and you have performed it on the by taking the manual calculations. Basically, this SW test is also built in the statistical software SPSS. So I'll be giving you the demonstration onto the data requirement of the SPSS for performing the SW test in order to ensure that whether our data is normal or it is not normal. So I'll be giving you the demonstration that how you would be defining your required variables and how you are going to enter the data in your SPSS data file. The problem in hand that I've taken for SPSS data set, it was the return on investment for 12 months on 20 randomly selected stocks. So the data for 20 randomly selected stocks is being given because the data is on return on investment, and we need to test it for composite normality at 5% level of significance. Now students, as you can see, this is the data window of the SPSS. Once you will open up your SPSS, this window will appear before you. Here you would have to define your required variables. As you can assume that in your example there was only one variable, that was return on investment, for which we need to test our hypothesis that whether the data is normal or not normal. So for students, as you can see that I've clicked on to the variable view, that is why it is being highlighted. So under the variable name, I am going to define a single variable for which normality is to be tested. So I have defined the variable name as return underscore on underscore investment. Let me tell you student, जब आप variable name define करते हैं SPSS में, as I've explained earlier, that spaces are not allowed, even hyphenation is not allowed. So you would have to separate the words by making use of this underscore. Either you can write it as return on investment collectively as a word, या अगर आपको इसको separate out करना है तो आप इसको separate करेंगे by means of the underscore. Once you are done with that, you would have to define the type. The default type is numeric, and as you know that we would have to take numerals under this variable, so we would go with the default type as numeric. Decimals by default they are 2, but I've set them to 1 because if you remember that our return on investment values, they have had the decimal places till 1. Further, if we just move on, the measurement would be scale. Students, as you know that normality is to be tested onto the quantitative data sets. That means the data sets which are measured on at least an interval scale of measurement. Once you are done with the definition of the Shapiro-Wilk test variable under the SPSS, I will be clicking on to the data view. So once I've clicked onto the data view, students, you can see, you can observe that the data view is being highlighted, and now this variable is being defined. The next thing I need to do is that I've had the 20 observations in total, so I would just be entering them under the return on an investment. So this would complete my definition of the variable and the data entry under the return on investment variable. Once I'm done with the definition of the variable as well as the data entry of the return on investment observations, my data is ready to follow it for Shapiro-Wilk's test for normality under SPSS.